one thing, then I would be a lot more confident speaking about it. I wish I kind of niched down earlier. So it was almost like I had to share the odd personal thing to keep people interested in my business. I just lacked something big to focus on for quite a while because I've just been here, there and everywhere. I can't enjoy scrolling anymore. There's no joy in it for me. Like, I actually just look and think, right, I need to do that next. I need to save that sound. I need to figure out a way I can jump on this trend or something. Like, it's exhausting. So actually, I can't remember the last time like I had a little doom scroll.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Therapised. Today I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Niki Mahon, and she, at just 23 years old, kickstarted Nikita in 2015 from her bedroom. Feeling unsatisfied and lost with her career path after completing a degree she wasn't passionate about, she secretly designed a website and began sourcing trendy jewelry to sell on Instagram. Fast forward to now, and after a complete rebrand, Nikita offers exclusive copyrighted jewelry and homeware designs worldwide. Niki is a huge advocate for women, empowering women, and loves to see others go against the grain and really step into their power. I'm really excited to have you here today.
Thank you. That was an amazing intro. I appreciate that.
How did it feel to hear that?
Yeah, good. I think normally I would have to like kind of pitch myself, but it's really nice that you were able to kind of find that and do that for me. And it's just, it's a bit weird hearing it back actually.
Yeah. This is you. This is what you've done and what you've achieved. And it's so beautiful just to see you really have that belief in yourself. And because I remember reading somewhere, it said you always knew that your name was going to be a brand.
Yeah.
Is that what you felt?
So I don't know what exactly it was going to be, but I think my parents almost named me knowing it's a strong name. Yeah. And then I had my nickname Niki, obviously. So if ever I wanted to, I don't know, become a politician or whatever, I'd have that strong name as well. So
I love that. That's beautiful energy, isn't it? To start it off with.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And do you feel that you enjoy what you do right now?
Yes, I would say I do. I think I am also very open to change in the future as well. I feel like I'm not tied to my brand. I'm a businesswoman in my own right. So if I want to go into something else in the future, then I will. Yeah. But I love change. I love improving things. And I kind of go by what stage I am in my own life. Yeah. So say, for example, in the future, if I have kids and then I become really fascinated by children's clothing, I don't know, maybe I could go in something in that field. But I don't tie myself down. I think that's something I've had to kind of almost unlearn. Yeah. In the last couple of years as well. Like, I can't stay associated with something I created when I was so much younger because I change as a person. But at the moment, I very much enjoy what I do. I think I've got it to a point now where it suits me better. I think the rebrand I did last year for my business has allowed me to put my best foot forward whilst almost taking a step back at the same time, which is exactly what I needed for my personal life. So yeah, I'm chopping and changing things all the time. I'm not one to settle or I don't want to feel too comfortable for too long. So yeah, I would say I feel challenged. I also feel excited to wake up. I never get the Sunday feeling, which I know is a big deal. I know a lot of people feel that way, but I've never had that and haven't had that for a long time.
Is that, when you say you haven't had that, did you ever have it? Or was it ever in your business that you had that feeling?
Oh, not in my business. I think in my previous job, just like everyone else, I did kind of go to bed feeling anxious on a Sunday, worried about, starting the whole week, like commuting to work and everything. But I'm lucky in that I do something now where I don't feel anxious going to bed on a Sunday. So that's something I keep reminding myself as well, because obviously there's so many challenges and it can be so hard and draining sometimes. But I'm lucky in that I do feel purpose and excitement around what I do. So.
And you shared something that you change depending on where you are, and it's a bit like nature. You know how nature changes different seasons, and 100%. It really feels like you're aligned with your business.
Yes,
and we're very intentional with how you or what you feel your business needs.
Yeah, I am now. I think that's come with age. I think I don't know. Ever since I've turned 30, I'm 32 now. I've just turned, but I've just become hyper aware of myself, and it's really amazing actually. Anyone that's dreading turning 30, like, I promise you, it's just such I don't know, your brain like expands. I don't know, but
what do you feel changed for you when you were 30? Like, what do you feel has shifted in your mindset?
I think my overall self-awareness has I feel like it almost like accelerated a lot literally since the day I turned 30. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was just like I don't know, a psychological thing that I knew that I needed to be making more finite decisions and things at this age. And but I've just come to learn what works for me, what doesn't, what to say no to, what not to, you know, just be a lot more decisive. I think is the main thing. I would have described myself as a very indecisive person in my 20s.
Okay. In what way? Because here you are, and people will see you as like, this person's got this business, this person is successful in their own right, but inside there's something else that you're feeling.
100%.
So what's that indecisiveness about?
I would say because I wasn't 100% sure where the business would be going, like what direction it was going to be, where I should assign all my energy. I was just saying yes to a lot of things. So there were a lot of opportunities that were coming my way, which is an amazing position to be in. I didn't really know what to do with it. And it felt like if I said no to anything, it would be a wasted opportunity. So I was going to these events and I was trying lots of new things. And I would say that I felt spread thin for a long time, because actually what I needed to be doing was just focusing on my brand and my business and certain aspects of it. And I think along the way, whilst I'm doing a bit of everything, like even like the bit of the influencing side of things that I dabbled in, like I ended up losing my focus on what was the most important thing. So now I've just gained a lot more self-awareness, a lot more focus, and also a lot more like fluidity. I'm a way more chilled person in general now. And I think it makes it quite exciting, because I don't know what the future will be. I don't think that I'll be doing what I'm doing now forever. I'll say that, as much as I've enjoyed it, but it's been 8 years now. So I'm just open to whatever comes, but so many things are like spiking my interest at the moment. But at least I've got the business at a place where I can now look for other things that fulfill me. I wouldn't have wanted to do that until I was confident with the processes and the turnover of the company. But now I feel like I've almost freed myself to look at other things in life, which is nice.
And I think sometimes when people start businesses, what can happen is there's this anxiety of, am I going to do it? This fear of failing. And you end up just being or coming from this place of anxiety, just taking anything and everything. Because you feel like, I need to just take it just in case. Do you feel like that was your mentality in the initial stages of the business? Yeah,
100%. I wouldn't even say I felt anxious around it. I think I was just kind of swept up in it. And I was loving them. I'm a really sociable person. Like, I love meeting new people, and I was enjoying these events and things like that. But when I look back on them, I was like, I don't know if that was the right thing to do, but I guess it led me to where I am now. So there's no point regretting anything. But I would definitely describe it as being swept up in it. And things have changed since I've moved my page over, which I imagine we'll talk about later. But I feel like I've had to unlearn quite a lot in the last 2 years.
Let's go into that. What do you feel like? We won't wait for later. What do you feel you've had to unlearn?
So I was on Instagram from my early 20s. So this is like right back to university days. And it was quite strange then, because I didn't know many people that were like getting these sort of followers, and it was just a weird experience, to be honest. And I think it warped my sense of reality to some extent.
In what way?
In that, you know, you're just used to external validation or like virtual validation. So I just became used to that for the next like 10 years, really, which is they're the most pivotal points of your life. So I tried never to get too involved in it or lose my sense of self, because I had lots of friends and my family kept me really grounded and things. But I think it just kind of warped I guess my sense of reality. I think it was just the adoration I was getting online from people that I never expected to receive. I think that was quite interesting to experience at that age I experienced it at. And now I'm kind of out of it and I'm looking back on it. I do kind of see everyone now, like people blowing up on TikTok. I worry about them, to be honest, because
what do you worry about? Like, when you think of or you see them blowing up?
I worry about that they might change their mind like I did later. And then like I did, because I put so much of my personal life online, I sort of just feel a bit concerned that they will, look back on it and regret sharing what they did, or they might want to, have a more private life, but they can't now because they're getting recognised everywhere. So I just want to make sure people are going into it because they want to, not because they kind of like fell into it, or like one random video is blown up and now they think that's the course the rest of their life. Like I just think we all do need a bit more of a consistent, sustainable career that does keep us happy, and maybe do this on the side in terms of social media. But one thing I would like 100% stress, being on the other side of that and looking back at my 20s, is I wish I kind of niched down earlier.
Okay, what do you mean niche down?
So I started posting business content and things when I started the brand in 2015, 2016 onwards, but it was mixed with a lot of my personal life. And I see people now that are owning their niche and they're accelerating and they're not sharing too much else. And I think that is just the absolute way to go. Just be an expert in something, focusing on something that you can keep learning and keep sharing and adding value to people's lives. Whereas I think, again, like I just felt spread thin quite a lot. Like I was trying to do everything.
What do you think like made you share your personal life when you first started off? Like, do you feel like that was what was expected, or where did you get the idea of that's what you needed to do?
I think because I gained followers from an early age, I honestly only shared things like, because that was what people were interested in.
Yeah.
When I shared the business content and things and like new products and things like that, my engagement would be so much lower.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I had to share the odd personal thing to keep people interested in my business. So it was like a bit of a double-edged sword, because it was driving traffic to my website and my designs and everything, but it was eating away at my sense of self and my privacy, and just it was quite strange actually. But on the flip side, I've met some amazing people. I was able to expand and grow my brand. So there is like, I mean, there's highs and lows with it all, but I just kind of think now I'm on the other side when I think about the younger generation and everyone and anyone like getting big on TikTok and Instagram. I just sort of think, I hope they're kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't advise just being an all-rounder and sharing everything. Just be selective and niche down, find your expertise. And I just love to see that. When I'm online, I see someone who's obsessed with plants, and that's their whole page is just plants, and it's like they get the right followers that are interested in plants, and it's just nice. It's a community they create. Whereas when you're sharing everything and there's photos of you looking glamorous, or then there's you in the warehouse running your business, you attract kind of like everyone, and then it's hard to please that because they haven't followed you for one specific reason. If that makes sense.
No, and I think that's such beautiful and powerful wisdom that you're sharing with other people, because there's a lot of people who are starting off or in that space where they think, I need to be doing this, I need to be doing this. And I said before this podcast, I was like, I don't like sharing my personal life, because you get so focused on, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and this is what I'm doing now, and everything becomes, I need content.
Yes.
Rather than just
Your
being able to enjoy
becomes the content, which is really, really strange and hard to like tap out of as well. So when I switched the pages over, so I basically, it was my personal accounts under my name, and I was sharing personal life mixed with my designs and my business, and I'll be honest, it worked. Like the sales were great when I was doing that, and I'm grateful for that. But now I've kind of put the brand at the forefront, taken a step back in terms of what I share. It's it's taken, like I said, I had to unlearn a lot. So I noticed that I relied a lot on the wrong things.
You're smiling when you're saying
because I think this is such a important thing to share, because I only came to realize it in the last 2 years. So that's a long time, like, that I didn't realize it. But I think my sense of self-worth was tied to 3 things that were wrong, which is virtual validation. Also my my self-worth was tied to my productivity and my success and money and things like that. They're all 3 of the wrong things, and I only know that now. And to break away from that and disrupt that cycle in my head was quite tricky, because I then, especially the virtual validation, if I'm honest, because when I wasn't getting that, I was, my ego was feeling lower and lower. Like I almost was shying away more and more, like almost becoming a little turtle in my shell. Like I didn't want to speak online anymore. I haven't for a while, to be fair. I'm still kind of, but I'm now thinking, oh, that's because I want to be private. But then I'm also like, is it because I've lost a bit of confidence from not getting that positive loop of adoration and things like that? So it's a weird one. I'm still figuring it out, to be quite honest. But
I think that's also a really beautiful space to be in, is that I don't know what it is right now, and I'm sitting with this, and I don't know if it is this or if it is this. And sometimes we don't need to know all the answers straight away. It's like we're on the journey. 100%. We're on that journey, and we're trying to figure it out. And it's like, okay, maybe I'll go live and I'll just see how that feels, or if I post a video and just sit and reflect on how that, and it feels like that's what you're about right now. It's like
100%. Everything that you're just doing. This overwhelming self-awareness, I would describe it as. So I'm sitting with a lot of things, and it just because so much has shifted, like my day-to-day has shifted. I don't have to be in front of a camera anymore. That's something that I knew I needed. And honestly, for the last, say, 4 years, while I was on Instagram and things like that, before I changed the page over, I knew it. I thought about it every day. Like, I need to change something. Something doesn't feel right. I felt uncomfortable. I felt as well, like, even though there was so much beauty in what I was doing, and I was getting so much lovely feedback, and I was inspiring young girls, which is like, honestly, it's such an amazing feeling. When I'd come offline, I'd feel drained. Like I'd given all of my positive energy that I almost needed for myself away to strangers, and some people didn't even like it. So it's kind of, just tricky, I think, to navigate that. And when I look back, I wasn't happy for a while. So that's why I thought, right, let's change some things up. And I did that, and I'm glad I did. I feel a lot better. I know I could feel even more. I could feel even better if I shift a few more things. But I think I'm just, again, just enjoying the journey. I don't really know what the end goal is, which is also nice, because I'm not fixated on one thing. I'm kind of just seeing what feels right as I age. And there's something really powerful in the nervous system, because sometimes when we feel like we've got this goal and we need to get there and we need to do this, it's like that we can't regulate our nervous system and the big emotions that we might be having because we're not really aware. We're very disconnected from that, and we've learned, okay, keep doing this, but we're not aware of that. It's happening subconsciously, and we can get caught in that. But it feels like where you are right now, you just chilled out. You're like, all right, look over there, look, there's that, there's that. Which one am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it feels a little bit uncertain, but I'm okay. I'm just enjoying life right now. Yes. And I would say, as well as enjoying that and feeling relaxed, I know it sounds a bit contradictory, but I also can sometimes feel quite overwhelmed.
I think that's really important to share.
I do. Do you know what it is? There's so many things I want to do. I get excited by everything, which is really great.
We saw a bit of that today.
I'm like, wow, I don't know, I just get excited by everything.
But you have a creative brain, don't you?
Yeah.
And having a creative brain, you can be like, oh, this, and you can get lost in like all these different ideas.
And do you know what else has come with the whole self-awareness and things like that? Like, I honestly believe, I've looked into it quite a lot, but I actually think I'm probably quite high up on the spectrum of ADHD. You could probably tell, like, I know, like, I it makes so much sense. Like, when I was reading into it, I just felt really seen.
Yeah.
And it just explains a lot. Like, I'm not a hyper-focused person. Like, I want to be. I would love nothing more than to find something I love, be really good at it, and just focus in. But I'm always doing lots of things, and I love it, because I like I said, I get excited by things, but then I just as easily as getting excited, I get overwhelmed. Because I want to do it all, and I know I can. And there's that as well.
And when you can get overwhelmed, though, the procrastinator can come out in you.
Oh my God.
And then you're there, like, doing something that you know that isn't going to help. And your other part of you is like, come on, get on here, and let's do this. Because you know that you're capable, you know you can do it. But sometimes the brain's just so overwhelmed, and it just needs that step-by-step or breakdown of what you actually need to do. I can see you smiling. It's like,
I just feel seen these days. Like, I just get myself so much more now. Like, I think I've been like this since I was a kid, and to only come to this realization at 32 years old is wild. Like, and I think as well, you obviously you'd know this, but it's way less. It's not diagnosed much in women and young girls. So I think not only have I got, maybe this is part of my personality, but I think I've been repressing it so intensely for so long. Like, and it explains a lot about me. Like, I hate clutter and mess. So much. Like, it really feeds into my personal life, my home life. Like, I'm constantly selling stuff, getting rid of stuff, and cleaning. And I know that's something that almost doesn't fall under the typical things for someone with ADHD. But
everyone's symptoms are very different.
Exactly. It's almost like I know that will overwhelm me and stress me out. So I try and eliminate anything that will make it even noisier in my head, if that makes sense.
These are coping strategies, though, aren't they?
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, they become coping strategies. But I think in females, because I was diagnosed at like 28, I think I was diagnosed. And when I was done, I was like, everything makes sense.
Wow, you've got it.
And yeah.
Oh my God, look at us.
I don't know, but as you become the high achiever. So you become the high achiever, the one who's high functioning. Yeah. But underneath, you've got all this other like procrastinator, you've got the perfectionist, you've got all these other parts of you 100%. That play out. And then everyone just sees that, oh, you've got it together. You're this, you're this. It's really interesting because as women, we tend to mask it and we develop coping strategies that mean that our symptoms aren't as visible. Yeah. So we are the organized one, or we are the caretaker, we are this, and actually very sensitive beings as well.
Yeah, I definitely am. And I think it's because I've perhaps masked it for so long. I like to think I'm super organized and super structured and things like that. But actually, I don't think I naturally am. I think I do this to appear less all over the place. Like I'm the kind of person that my cupboards will be immaculate, but I haven't replied to a group chat for ages because I can't do it both. Like and then my friends are like, oh, you forgot about this person's birthday, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be the organized one. So I feel like I've just got so many balls in the air, and that's like aside from everything I do within the business. And I do put a lot of pressure on myself in general because not only do I want to run a successful business, I want to share and be inspirational for women online. I also want to have a lovely home. Like I'm obsessed with interior design. I also want to be the perfect host, great friend, great daughter, all this sort of stuff. So I just set my own bar like way too high.
What happens with that? Like we've got these really high standards, and do you feel like you meet them all the time, or do you feel like sometimes you don't? And if you don't, what tends to happen?
If I don't speak to myself very nicely in my head. Okay. And I've got worse with age, which is because loads of great things have happened as I've got older, but I've almost become, I think because I've got a lot more time to myself at this age, I've kind of, like I said, saying no to a lot more. Like I'm in my own space a lot, and I've never really struggled with it before, but I'm just so hard on myself. In terms of even like, for example, the other weekend I hosted and I made like an amazing meal. I had to clean my whole house and everyone had a great time, but I left and I just felt really drained. I didn't feel upbeat from doing that, even though that's something I really wanted to do and thought I should do. And I put so much effort in, it all went well. I didn't feel good afterwards. And I need to figure out why that is, because it's like I put the pressure on myself, but then when I get there, I don't really bask in it. I just move on to the next thing.
Do you feel like it's still not enough?
I don't know. I'm really not sure. I just think I just get excited about the next thing too quickly.
It's like the shiny object, isn't it? There's another thing now coming. Let's go there. Yeah. Let's go there.
I know. I'm like that. We're renovating our house at the moment, and honestly, the projects I come up with, my to-do, so I thought like best way I can manage this is to write a to-do list for everything, because like so much is whirling around, and I developed like quite bad sleeping problems. It's got better recently, but I've literally itemized like all of my to-do lists. I've got to-do list for work, like small tasks, big tasks. Then I've got house stuff. Then I've got social stuff, and I've just got this list. And I was like, right, let me get everything out of my head on this thing. It was so effective. I use a Monday board. It's really good. Well, I felt better because I got it all out, and then I looked at my list and I was like, how is anyone ever going to do this?
But you will. You'll figure it out. You'll find a way.
You're right, I will. And then I'll have a massive cry, and then I'll just crack on. I do this. I almost feed off the overwhelm. There's something weird going on. But at the same time, I'm also relaxed. I don't know. I'm just.
How do you feel like that plays out in your business? Like the the inner critic. You said it's got louder as you've aged. How do you manage that in your business? Because you will have certain goals that you want to get to. And I suppose having that inner critic constantly there is a little bit like having a bully. Yeah. How do you cope with that?
Yeah. I think the whole, say if I haven't been diagnosed with anything, but say if I do.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah. You can diagnose me now if you want. But say if that is the case, I think it makes sense why I do what I do. Yeah. Like why I've chosen this path and why I've been in it for as long as I have. And because it's some days are really bitty. Like I'm doing small tasks all day, and I'll come to the end of it, I feel like I haven't done anything, but I have. And I feel, again, I get things done and I do it, and my brain is active and I'm focused on that, and I chop and change and I mix things up, and I know it's not the best way to work. And I don't feel great afterwards, but I know I needed to get those things done, so I just crack on. But then I remember this time quite vividly actually, because it was in this one year, it was 2022.
Yeah.
It was when I got married, so I had 2 big weddings. I had my hen, I had my 30th birthday, and I had the big rebrand of my company. Like, it was just a big year. There was a lot going on.
There's a lot there, yeah.
Like, I don't even know how I survived
organising,
it. And then when I launched the rebrand, it was only a few months after my wedding. And people were like, how are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I was like, it was almost like an escape from the wedding planning. I know it sounds crazy, but it was like...
It doesn't sound crazy.
And it wasn't just work to me. So I loved working on that so much. And I was in my flow state. I was going... Because I knew... Basically, I was rebuilding my whole website and I did it myself. And I just had, for once... a big meaty project that was one thing that I could be good at and focus on, so I could go in, spend the day, and then as I was working on it, it was improving. So it's like that. I don't really have that with a lot of other things in the business. You work on something and maybe in a year's time you'll see the results, whereas this, I was turning up and I just had my teeth into it and I loved it, and I was so happy actually working on it, even though it seemed like a really big deal and a lot went into it. But like, I just remember feeling really content and calm, because I think I also just lacked something big to focus on for quite a while, because I've just been here, there and everywhere again, spread really thin. So
isn't it interesting what we end up doing as a way of like, we think, oh, I'm doing this, but when you're reflecting back, there's a really powerful saying, it's you live life moving forwards, but you don't understand it until you start connecting the dots going backwards.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's almost like you were in the midst of like, okay, wedding planning and everything else, but then there you were deciding, let me just sort my and rebrand at this point as well. But you knew you were going to be good at it, so that it felt really nice to have that.
So going back to something I know, which is back to my roots, is back to like my university days, like my bread and butter. And it's like, because I guess it's a good thing, I've always kind of thrown myself out of my comfort zone in so many different things over the years, and I'm grateful I have. But it's always, sometimes doing that, you feel anxious because you're trying something. It's all the unknown, isn't it? So going back to something that I know I'm good at, that not a lot of other people could do, makes me feel really good. And that's why I found being on social media in the last couple of years quite difficult, because I just felt like there were so many other people doing it better than me. Do you know what I mean?
And that's really hard. Like when you're on social media and you're looking at other people's things, we're only seeing like very, very small amount of people's lives, but instantly you've got that inner critic in your head screaming, look at this and look at their likes and look at their interactions and look at it, and you can get so caught up in
100%.
that.
And do you know what as well? I actually think it's doubly as hard if you're a creator or a brand and just a general consumer on social media, because not only have you got the whole, just the normal consumer seeing things, just that like so much information, the comparison, things like that. But you've also got, oh, I should be doing that. Oh, I need to use that sound. I can't enjoy scrolling anymore. There's no joy in it for me. Like, I actually just look and think, right, I need to do that next. I need to save that sound. I need to figure out a way I can jump on this trend or something. Like, it's exhausting. So actually, I can't remember the last time like I had a little doom scroll and I felt peaceful afterwards. I feel almost like I've got 20 more things on my to-do list just from having a browse.
But how much information are we consuming when we are scrolling? There's so much that we're looking at. I'm just like, I can't do it. I have to have boundaries with it, because otherwise you're going on and then you can be sitting there for hours, like looking through everyone's content and looking at this. I need to do this. I need to do this. I feel overwhelmed, and then you don't end up doing anything.
Exactly. I feel like my stress spikes. And I wondered, like, is that like spike in cortisol? Like, is it addictive? Why are we addicted to something that just stresses us out? I don't get it.
There's something with soothing, because I know a lot of parents that it comes evening and that's their alone time, and what they end up doing is just scrolling, and it becomes their soother in some ways. And it's not healthy, because we're going, but look how much information we're taking on board, but also what's happening in our mind when we're doing that. If we're looking at other people, if you've just had a hard day with the kids or with the family, and then you're looking at other people's social media and you're thinking, look at their life, like look at what they're doing, I haven't achieved that, or they look like they're having a great time, my life's not like that. And then you end up sleeping like that with these beliefs that perhaps you're not enough, or look at everyone else. And that just carries around in your subconscious and just keeps feeding a part of you that doesn't then help you feel good about yourself.
100%.
It's really sad, isn't it?
It is sad. Yeah, we'll do it again and again.
And that's where it gets addictive, because people then get used to that. It's like with binge eating. If you're feeling uncomfortable, you feel like you just want to disconnect, you might have a pattern with binge eating or with alcohol, with drugs. That's your escapism. So when we think of like social media, it's like that avoidance as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like, even it's quite funny actually, I felt quite stressed like 2 days ago.
Like
overwhelmed again. Like I also felt like one of those days, when technology just isn't working for you, and that's
quite
like
a few of them.
That's like the most frustrating thing for me, because I like to think I'm quite technical. When it just doesn't work, I'm like, what is happening? So I got back, I was just drained, and the only thing I wanted to do is, my husband was like, okay, how would you feel better? I was like, the only thing I want to do is to watch a really dark, gritty crime series so I can just get lost in their life. Do you know what I mean? And then it gives me perspective that mine's actually okay. So I'm like, that's what I want, is to almost just like feed off someone else's story to like forget about mine for a bit. So maybe it's a bit of that.
And you're just disconnecting. Because it feels like right now my life is really overwhelmed and there's so much going on, and you just want that sort of escape. But I want to come back to a question that I had right at the beginning, which is, you had this belief within you, but yet you did it in secrecy, like setting up your website. What was that belief that you had? Because it was really powerful, but yet it was almost like, oh, I need to do it in secrecy. Because
of course.
What was that about?
I'll be honest, I don't think it was a positive belief. I think it was almost like negatively enforced in me, as in like I just needed to prove people wrong.
Okay.
I was in a relationship when I was at uni. So I left uni and I felt really lost. Like I didn't want to do what I did for my degree.
What did you do for your degree?
I did computer animation.
Oh, wow.
Really random. I wanted to work for Pixar DreamWorks because I thought, how can I marry being creative and good at drawing and things like that with something that could actually be a career? And I thought that was the way to go.
Which made sense.
Yeah. And it was technical and creative and interesting, and I thought it was the future. So
introducing our exclusive newsletter, your weekly dose of inspiration, insights, and empowerment. Each week we deliver curated content straight to your inbox, and this is designed to help you navigate life's challenges and thrive. Join our community of like-minded individuals who are committed to personal growth and self-discovery. Subscribe now to start your journey towards a happier, more fulfilling life. Don't miss out.
It was interesting. My family let me they were really relaxed with me. Kind of like, Niki's the creative one. She's not up to much. Like, let her just do what she wants. Do you know what I mean? So the expectation's always been really low, which is different for a lot of other South Asian girls. I know that their family put lots of pressure on them to be. I had the opposite.
But do you think that impacted on you?
Yes. Yeah. Again, probably wanted to prove people wrong. Like, I did this degree. You all raised your eyebrows, and then I was like, oh God, now I didn't want to pursue that, which even felt like even more of a bit of a blow. So when I left university, I then was in a relationship with someone who made me feel absolutely inadequate. And I look back on that with so much awareness. So I'm not going to say too much about it, but that drove me to prove that person wrong, prove any kind of I don't know, distant family members that was side-eyeing my every move.
God, there's a lot of like strength in that, isn't there? Because after everything else where you're feeling this inadequate feeling, but yet there's this like determination of,
I guess
I need to just go on strength and also courage. It takes real courage to start something up and be like, okay, I'm going to give this a go, and I want to prove, and I want to do it. And you may have started off proving them wrong, but look at where you are today. Like, you're here actually feeling quite content within yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I've built something amazing. I'm so proud of it. And the life I live, like our home, like the people I've been able to meet, my husband, the way we connect over things like this, because we have that in common. Like, I'm so glad that whatever I went through then panned out, because there was just this point after university. I just felt, I don't know, like I was just like, what am I actually going to do? Like, when it's just, again, overwhelming, because I was interested in a lot of things. I was good across the board, like at school, like I had to study really hard for the more academic subjects, but I did well in them. Like, I just felt like I was, and I have felt like this for a lot of my 20s, like a jack of all trades, master of none is definitely how I would describe sometimes what it feels like running a business as well.
Because look how many hats you have to wear.
Honestly,
there's so many hats. You're the creator, then you're the manager, then you're having these serious talks.
Exactly.
You're trying to find all your suppliers. So there's so many hats.
Exactly. So when I left uni, the way I felt, which I just felt so inadequate, I felt like I could let a lot of people down. And yeah, that was not the right time to get into a relationship like that. Unfortunately. So it was just, I wasn't at my strongest. And that's probably why things panned out the way they did. So
but you still went ahead and started this business, because in that moment you had a choice when you were feeling this. It was like, do I continue just like down this rabbit hole of I'm not good enough, I'm inadequate, and go down that? But there's a little part of you that was like, hang on,
I guess
let me just try this, let me just go down.
I'm trying to remember like my mind frame at the time, but you're right, I need to just give myself some credit for that, because I did, and you know what, it really was against the grain, especially then. Like, I think starting a business now, there's so much inspiration and people doing it online. But back then it was just a bit, I don't know, it felt quite random. That's also why I kept it to myself, because I was like, I don't want anybody side-eyeing this as well. Like, just leave me be. Let me see what I can come up with. And that worked well for me. And to be honest, like growing up, so my, I've mentioned this in other podcasts, I've not really got the best relationship with my dad. He's really critical. So there's another person I want to prove wrong. But my dad's run a business his whole life. So I've grown up with it. So, but he was the last person I would want to ask advice from as well. So it's kind of this whole prove people wrong, especially the men in my life. Never ask for help, which is also kind of bitten me in the bum like later on in life, because as and when I probably should have done, I didn't, and things could have panned out differently. But yeah, I think it wasn't like this like positive cycle in my mind being like, you can do it, let's go for it. It was almost like let's do it to show these people that you can.
It's interesting as well, because when we talk about our early attachments, and I know that this relationship with dad is like, dad was critical growing up, but sometimes we attract that later on in life. And I wonder if that's where it's ended up in this relationship, but actually you've broken from that. So you've broken this cycle of like, no, I am deserving, and I'm ready to be, or I am lovable, and I want to be loved in a certain way. So you really stepping out of that. It's just, again, it's self-awareness, it's understanding.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, because that's something as well I come to learn now, because God, when I think back at that, I think, cool, that could be my life now. But
you knew no different. If you think about what you were taught and from your male role model growing up in the attachment, it's not to blame dad, but it's trying to understand what your inner child went through and how you experienced what love was. So if someone was critical, that's what love is from a male role model. 100%. And you would have continued being like, that's what what I'm going to have in a relationship.
And I think growing up as well, so I've seen my dad like kind of criticize my mum like constantly. He still does it now. And my mum just takes it. So I've always almost like fought her battles growing up. So I've always been the sassy one. I can hold an argument.
So you've had this little determination within you. It's been there.
I've got the sass and it's there. And that's why I was able to leave that relationship as well, because I just couldn't be walked over like my mum. Do you know what I mean?
Again, the cycle breaker. Like, I'm not having this. I'm not having this.
Like, oh yeah, it's so weird. Like, I think as well, I don't know if it's an age thing or just where I am in life, but I look back at so much and it all just makes sense. And it's all, it's interesting because you kind of got to forgive a lot of things as well.
But also forgive yourself, because there's parts of you where you're thinking, how did I allow that? Well, how did I allow myself to be in that situation? But actually it's forgiving that younger version who thought that was love or thought that was okay at the time. But where you are now, it's like, no. I don't allow that. This isn't what I want, or this is, and being able to communicate what's important to you as well.
100%. So it's been quite the journey, I would say. Like,
so say if someone listening now is struggling or in a place where they're lost, what piece of advice would you give to them?
I would say, I know it's hard and easier said than done to find your purpose, but I was listening to Jimmy Carr on a podcast recently, and he was saying that the one them Stephen Bartlett? That was really, I think he's so good on podcasts, Jimmy Carr. So when he just said the thing that you can't stop thinking about, just do that, which makes so much sense. There's always there's something on our minds all the time, and I think if you focus on that, then do that. And then what I will say is just niche down. And even if it's something, say you've been pressured into a certain degree or something like that you didn't really want to do, you could then take that knowledge and everything that you've acquired from that, and then that can be transferred into something you enjoy more. So for example, say if you're incredible, you've got this amazing knowledge from your degree from a certain topic, but you don't like the lifestyle that comes with just following the normal career path, you can then talk about that on YouTube and build. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's ways to transfer a degree that you may be in that isn't very exciting into something exciting, but just be the expert in one thing. Because coming from someone that's been a jack of all trades, master of none for so long, I kind of wish I had that one thing. I do. Yeah. I do. I could talk about business all day long, but it's very specific to my type of business and e-commerce, product-based business. But I think it's just, there's so much to be said for someone that just knows what they're talking about. Like even like a PT, if you're just sick at PT, you study it, you own it, then that can be what you put out in the world, and then people will respect and value what you have to say. So just niche down, be selective with what you share, and then you'll feel less imposter syndrome as well, as what I believe, because you've got to put in the work and you've got the like accreditations, is that the right word, behind it, so you can just go for it and talk about what you're good at. So
that's beautiful. It's almost like if because what I'm hearing and what you say is, if you see all these different lanes, it's like just stay in your lane, stay in this one lane.
100%. There's so many lanes out there, like you can't be doing everything, and that's okay. Like if you're interested in a few different things, like assign certain things to just being a hobby. So for example, my husband, he's a chartered accountant. Oh god, he's just incredible. He's so intelligent, he's so good at what he does, and it fits really well into the business, because that's like my weak side of the business. So it's like actually panned out really well, but he's just really interested in marketing and things like that, which doesn't really go with what he's working on at the moment, but he just loves to study it and look into it but I think he knows that that's more of a hobby, obviously a really transferable skill you can put with anything. But you can be interested in lots of different things, but if you're going to be putting yourself out there, then niche down on one thing early on, and that's how you gain a following as well. For example, my best friend, she's sober, and she has just, that is her content, and that always has been her content. And then she's written books, she's studying a master's, she's on podcasts all the time, and she's just owning that segment. And and that's, everything's just so much more straightforward for her. And I think if I know it's different with a business, because it's a brand and that's what I wanted to do, and I'm really glad I've done that. But I think if I had the one thing, then I would be a lot more confident speaking about it.
I'm going to ask you another question, and this is about your younger self.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Okay.
Let's do it.
That younger self that made certain decisions, what would you want to say to her now?
Right. I would say everything you kind of imagine for yourself comes true. And then some, which is really great, because I'm such a visionary. Like I pictured things all the time. Like I do believe in like manifestation and things like that. Like I just picture everything, and I think I worried a lot. I doubted myself so much at certain points in my life, not all the time. Like I do remember like a big portion of my 20s was just really fun and going out with friends, and I don't think I was in my head a lot. But after uni and last like 4 years or so, I've been in my head quite a lot, but in a good way, like quite transitional times in my life. But things turn out really well. So just keep being me, because I think, I don't know, I'm very much someone that I get quite intense around certain things, and I love to focus on things. Like I love working on the house. I get really excited about projects in the business, and I like go all in. And people are probably a bit like, wow, okay, what's she up to now? But then I'm glad I'm like that. Because like a month later, I'll look back and I'll be like, cool, look what I just did there. I actually do pat myself on the back quite a lot of times, but I need to take a minute and just reflect sometimes of what I've achieved. For example, like it was the other week, I just decided to renovate my kitchen in 3 days. I don't know what happened, but I didn't check my phone for days. I was so in it, and I loved it. I look back, I walk into that kitchen now, I'm like, who did that? It's like I get possessed. And it's nice. Like it's nice to be obsessed with stuff, but it just comes with it's a slippery slope to feeling overwhelmed.
I'm smiling because it's something I do. It's like you go down a rabbit hole, and you know that you've got this idea, and you're there for like you can be there for days, and you're just hyper focusing on this one thing, and people are like, well, where have you been? What have you been up to? And I'm like, oh, and like, you did all of this, and I was like, Yeah.
It's so true. It's so true. And maybe that is what it is. And I'm always like looking for something to be hyper focused in, because that's when I'm happiest. Like, for example, when I was hyper focused on creating the website, so I'm just constantly seeking the next thing that I can just lose myself in.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I was just looking at, because I had a few questions that I wanted to make sure that we covered, but the one thing that I haven't asked you, which I think is really important, is about the balance. Balance of life and business.
Of course. It's like it's still something I'm working on.
Yeah.
But I've always, actually, this is something that I believe has worked for me and has allowed me to stay in what I'm doing and running my business and not building resentment towards it and things like that. And that is just choosing to work a 9 to 5. Obviously, when I started, it was very different. I was just working here, there and everywhere, evenings and weekends around my full-time job. But since I started working on my business full-time, I decided I was going to work maybe about 8 till 6 some days. But I work normal, sociable, conventional hours. And that has helped me stay sane, stay in love with what I do, not lose connection with a lot of people, because it's so lonely running a business. That is something I'm glad I've done from the beginning. And then I have my weekends. And if I'm feeling motivated and I want to work on a weekend, I will. But I'm not going to pressurize myself. Again, because there's so many other things that go through my mind and things I want to get my teeth into, things I want to do and ideas I have. I need the weekend to do my little projects and switch off in that way. So, yeah.
What I found really helps me is have an ideas book. So in the ideas book, everything goes in the ideas book. And when I'm ready and I'm like, right, okay, it's in the ideas book. And then when I'm like, okay, what about that? It's like, put it in the ideas book. Put it in it's like having that little conversation with yourself.
That's good.
But it's lovely that you've been able to set up this space, but also have these boundaries. So you've got time for you now, rather than being go. And I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. Have I posted? What has someone like responded back to? Do I need to do this? It can just feel very draining and emotionally exhausting. Yeah. And how is that looking after yourself? So there's so many people out there who just want content all over the place. Like, I need to get content, And it's like, we also need to just self-care as well and 100%. Have that space within and not so focused on outward.
Yes. And I think I put a lot of priority on working out work-life balance when I developed sleeping problems. I'd never had them before. And it was just the most derailing experience of my life.
I remember you posting things about that, where you said it was just really hard.
It was just such a weird phase. And it went on for a while. And I've managed to kind of, to be honest, I don't know what it was. I think it was, that year I said when so much was happening. It was around then, obviously. And, again,
you can't blame yourself, though, because if you think about everything that you were doing that year, there was a lot.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And it was things that I just knew that I wanted to do myself.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, I'm not going to get that person to do it. I can do it. Like, that's the thing. Like, my bar is so high. And I think as well, if you've been on social media for that long, like, people expect. The expectation was high for the wedding alone, like, let alone the rebrand.
That must have been put a lot of pressure. Did you feel that pressure?
Oh, 100%. I loved the days and I'm grateful for them. I would never do that again.
Okay.
Like,
if you were to do that again, how would that look? Would it be that, because was there a lot of focus on content creation?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I just would never do that. Would be my advice for anyone that's got following and wants to get married. Like, keep it to yourself. Don't work with vendors. Just do what you want to do. Yeah. I'm glad I did it. Like, there's no point me changing anything now. And it worked out well because to me it was like the last hurrah before I changed my page over. So I was like, let's go out with a bang. And to be honest, I worked with such nice people. There wasn't this like, didn't feel very contractual. It wasn't like that. And the thing is, we chose the things that we wanted to say we instead of I, but we chose the things we wanted for the wedding. Yeah. Based on what we did actually want, rather than, okay, that person can do that for free or anything like that. It wasn't like that. It was like, we want this person. And then they would offer, so we want to work with you, we can give a bit of a discount or whatever, and you'd be silly to say no. It's a lot of money at the end of the day. So again, it was like these opportunities that you're like, do I say no? And it's hard sometimes. But that only really factored into the Indian reception. So the rest of the events were all just us and what we wanted and what we planned, and it was really beautiful. But I think weddings come with a lot of pressure anyway, like family politics, and things like that. So just coupled with this has to be great, and then coupled with I need to now post this. I was happy to, because it was a really happy day, and I genuinely had like so much stuff, and I was excited to share it with people, but I shouldn't have had to feel like that. I shouldn't have had to share it.
Or felt that pressure to, like,
yeah,
because you see it a lot where people feel that it needs to be an Instagrammable wedding rather than a wedding to enjoy and a wedding to have.
Yeah, if you niche down and you have the confidence in what you're talking about, only put things out there that you're dead set confident on. Even if someone does start, if there is noise in the background, it won't get to you as much. It's the only time it really has affected me is I'll say that again. The only time it's really affected me is when I've put something out there that I'm actually not sure of anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. Just be selective. Share something that, someone's opinions can't affect you with. So it's tough.
I think there's also something about when you already have that inner critic within you, inner critic is very sensitive over and is looking out for potential rejection. So when then someone says something, it's like someone else might have said something really nice, but then this one person said something that's not very nice. Well, hold on to it. And like, yep, I'm holding on to this.
100%.
And then you just end up beating yourself up. And that can be really detrimental, because then you just keep ruminating, keep thinking, and then like, how do I stop this for next time? Sometimes we just have to let things be.
And do you know what, to some extent, like I think again with the self-awareness and like the healing stuff, like I'm almost grateful for some of it, because it's made me feel less naive around like, oh, I'll just share this and be open about that, and I'm like, actually no, I've got to protect certain things, and I've got to be a bit more decisive about what I do share.
It's protecting your energy as well, because when energetically, like, I don't think we talk enough about it. It's great for people to see your life, but also energetically, what are people then saying and doing and taking away, and it's your power as well, like people's knowing parts about you, but what can they do with that, which is it's hard, because you don't want to show everything, but it's just being mindful, like you said, is if people do see this, if people do then end up saying things about this, how comfortable do you feel about that?
I know exactly what you mean, but I think as well, like people trust, and will say, for example, if you have a business, they'll buy from you, and your energy speaks for itself, so you've just got to kind of back yourself to that extent, and know that people are perhaps only speaking because there's stuff to say, which
and we take what we need from it. So if you're feeling really stressed out and anxious, it's like, right, what am I going to take away from this? So I've got some random questions now.
Yes, go.
Because I think we've spoken a lot about business, about life, but I also want to ask and find out a little bit more about you. Okay. So what's the best compliment you've ever received?
Oh my God. Okay, I know this, which is quite strange. I think someone said to me, I'd love it if my daughter turned out like you.
Oh, that's lovely.
That is so... No, I deeped that for ages. I literally had to take a little minute. Like I don't know, that just meant so much to me.
Yeah.
I think because of my relationship with my dad, I don't think he's ever said he's proud of me, anything like that.
Yeah.
So to hear that, that one always sticks with me, and that means a lot. Yeah. So I appreciate it.
It's actually really interesting, because I wonder if that's why you are so passionate about women standing in their power and like just being like, yep, I'm supporting you guys, do whatever you want to do. And like you said about stepping into something that they believe and watching them grow. It's almost like you have a real like, yes, but I wonder if it's something within you as well that is
I think
like
so. We just don't get the support. We just don't, like, especially South Asian girls. It's just we're just constantly having to fight against what people expect of us, and that's why I don't know, when I speak, I think a lot of my friends as well, we're all of a certain age now, and we kind of decided what we're going to do with our careers, but I just think back to when I came out of uni and I was lost, and then I was in a relationship with someone whose family didn't want to accept me because I wasn't a doctor or a dentist and things like that. So then it's just, I just know how it feels. And that's without having strict parents. Like, my parents are really relaxed, to be fair, in comparison. So I can't even imagine what it's like for, most South Asian girls that are young and not sure what to do with their lives. So, and again,
and the pressure.
And times are changing, right? Like, there are so many more ways to make money and have a stable career. It's not like it was 10 years ago. It's different now. There are going to be jobs in another 10 years that don't exist now. So you can't just listen to this sort of what immigrant parents want for their kids, because they just want them to have the stable career. They want the best for them at the end of the day.
But they come from their experiences and times of change.
Yes, exactly. So that's all I want to do. I just want to make sure people know that they're supported. And also, there are people out there that are doing it and done well for themselves, and hopefully made their parents proud in the meantime. So
and you're also a role model in that.
Thank you.
So another question is, what did you want to be when you were a kid, and why?
Oh, I think I always wanted to have a little shop.
Yeah.
I used to play shops with my cousins and stuff. I know that does actually fit in obviously really nicely with what I do now, but I loved it. And I think I always imagined, like I said, like my name, I always imagined it on some sort of board. There's like a little photo of me when I was little against this shop called Nikita, and I was like, oh my God, Mummy, take a photo of me. I was really excited. But I think I just imagined having like a really humble, you know, face-to-face little shop. And even now, like I've romanticized it quite a bit, just having like a beautiful, rustic, cute little shop on like a cobbled street, and like playing all the like nice music. I decorate it beautifully. I love that. And I think that's something I used to think about when I was little, but then obviously I lost my way when I had to decide what to do for my degree, and then had to kind of abandon all of that, thinking it wasn't possible. So
but who knows, maybe you needed that, and actually that belief and that idea, maybe this is all your experience that you're gaining to be like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah, definitely.
Never too late.
But I've always had so many ideas and things, so it's not really been, I don't think any of my teen years and my 20s has been like straightforward. I've just been trying so many different things, and maybe it's to do with this ADHD, I don't know.
What to pick about that? And the last question I tend to ask, because if we ask, we can keep talking and talking, and I love it. But last question I tend to ask all the guests here is, do you feel that life is fair? It's a big question.
It is a big question. I'm going to say no, because if you look at the state of the world at the moment, it would be silly for me to say it is. I think the best you can do is just try and keep your little corner of the world sane. And I think as well, it's all a lot of things that happen in life, and there'll be so many curveballs constantly, is to just manage your reactions to them. And I know it sounds a bit pessimistic, but I almost like expect a curveball like every couple of weeks. I'm not ready for it. And I think because of the amount of things I've dealt with in especially in the business arena, like I have built a resilience that I am proud of. And say if something so daunting turns up, say if I don't know, I end up in some sort of tribunal, I don't know, I touch wood that doesn't happen, but I just feel like if that were to happen, which would be my worst nightmare, like I would handle that. I would handle anything.
Isn't this also about self-trust?
It's self-trust. You build that over time, and through experiences and through failures and through negative things that happen, you do build self-trust, because you ultimately you come out of it stronger. So no, I don't think life is fair, but I think if we just focus on building our resilience and how you pick yourself back up is the main thing. And I know it sounds almost cliche, but it just is true. And there's going to be something you just don't know. That's the thing. So you just got to enjoy the journey.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. And I hope everyone's taken what they need from this podcast. Are there any last few words you want to share?
I would say just, for anyone that's listening to the podcast, like clearly you've gone out of your way to listen to something that you know will better your mindset and things like that. So what you're doing is amazing anyway. And just keep being inquisitive, keep listening to people, and keep learning, keep like switching things up. Like it's fun and exciting, and like I said, we change our interests as we get older, so let yourself get lost in it sometimes, and it's quite fun, and you never know how it turns out. So
thank you. Hey there, are you ready to take your personal growth journey to the next level? I'm really excited to announce that my new online course is finally here. And in this course, we deep dive into topics we explore on this podcast, but with even more in-depth lessons, practical exercises, and personalized guidance. Don't miss out on this opportunity to invest in yourself and unlock your full potential. Enroll now and join me on this life-changing journey.